Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome to our community webinar. Our topic today is a Python primer for NetMRI. We are super excited to have our NetMRI guru, Sif Basksh, our senior systems engineer at Infoblox. Sif has been with Infoblox a little over 6 years, and he worked in multiple areas, including systems engineering and professional services. So I'm truly excited. I spent a lot of time with Sif on this, so I'm sure it will be a great webinar. Hi, Sif. Welcome to the webinar. Can you tell us a little bit about what you'll be covering?
Sure. Thank you for having me. The main thing I'm covering is an introduction, mostly for the folks that use NetMRI, so you can understand the getting started basics. So you can utilize NetMRI more and see the capabilities of what Python can give you. I'll also cover some use cases that I've experienced actually out in the field when I was in professional services. Even though I'm not in professional services, I still get roped in to help people out once in a while with stuff. So I kind of have a lot of still fresh new use cases in my head as well. And from there, we're going to go into a brief intro. Many of you guys that I saw signed up for this meeting are actually former customers of myself or people I've reached out to in the community. So I was glad to see that. I love this product, as most of you will see to come true here. The reason I love this product is so versatile. For example, it has a CCS, brief overview of our languages. There's what we call CCS. CCS is actually built in, and I'm going to show you guys an example of that here in a minute. It's the native language of what our engineers developed way back in the days. Perl was already part of it as well. I'm not a fan of Perl because Perl is a real coding language, and I'm more of a scripter. I still can use Perl, but my preference is Python because, man, you can do anything in Python. There's a library for everything. Same thing in Perl, but Python's just a little easier to learn. So it's mostly for getting everyone introduced into Python, and then we'll go from there into some examples. So one of the things I want to cover on, since I saw some people have no experience with NetMRI scripting language, and some people have been using Python, which is awesome. So what I wanted to cover is the basic language of CCS. CCS is really straightforward. If any one of you have ever configured a switch or any type of networking gear, as you can see right here, the action commands is everything that you actually need. So basically a config T, SNMP, read, Infoblox, read and write in NetMRI. So it's pretty straightforward, and we're all used to that. The reason I like this is because it's a simple language, but very powerful. There's a previous blog post that I have out there regarding getting started with CCS scripts. So if you're new to scripting at all, I would say check that out. It's called 5 CCS scripts to get you started. Almost the same title as this, 5 Python scripts to get you started. So the cool part of that is you can actually take show commands and everything else and parse that information, but CCS is limited. Like, for example, if I wanted to do update extensible attributes within within iOS, I have to use Perl. If I want to use update something, a custom field within NetMRI, I have to use Perl. So CCI is great for pushing data out or getting data, parsing it, and doing X amount of actions with it. Perl itself, as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. This one here is actually walking you through an example of prompting you for username and password, and then logging into every single device out there that is Cisco and iOS, and running a config T, dropping username, exit, and write memory. Now, you can do that in Python as well, and you can do that in CCS, but it gives you the flexibility of languages to learn. I see I don't see Perl ever going anywhere because I've been in this industry now for 22 years, and I've been always saying, oh, learn Perl, and I'm talking 22 years ago. So Perl's never going anywhere. But the fun part is everyone nowadays is moving to the new shiny kid Python. So that's one of the reasons I'm mentioning it. Basically, for NetMRI to work, we actually, of course, we still need that basic CCS scripting block. So no matter what, that's always true between CCS, Python, Perl. So that syntax still carries over here as well. A couple of nice things that I would recommend doing is build something like this and save it as a template if you're going to write Python scripts. Or do what I do. I use this Atom. It's a CCS, it's an editor for many languages, Perl, Python, JavaScript, you name it, it supports it. But I'm using it here because it's easy to read when you're on a Zoom meeting and show everyone from that example. Now, the reason for this is because we're actually making an internal API call using Python. So that's one of the reasons this is here. The import that we're using is actually NetMRI Easy from Infoblox NetMRI.easy, which is within the product itself. Some of the nice things from that is you can expand on it if you want to, or you can write your own other modules and utilize it, or you can import any other modules that you would like. You can import modules directly into the sandbox and use it from there. Sorry, there's a question just came in. Is this explicitly for NetMRI, or are you considering Network Insight to be included? As of right now, for NetMRI, Network Insight, the job engine is not going to be built on that. Basically, all you would need to do is send easy command, show version. This little debug I snuck in here because I wanted to show you how this it really looks. It's pretty cool because what that allows you to do is throw a debug command to see if you want to actually grab data from here and execute it again, but not actually run the command on a device, but show you that as an example. For example, let's do show run. So I'm actually going to switch over here now. These are the scripts I set up for the demo, same thing, show version. So one of the nice things is I can do, like example here, just do a show run. I'm going to save it, run it on a bunch of devices, and see what happens. Oh, sorry, I should preface this since some of you guys are not new to the product. Right here, if you ask it for variables and stuff like that, it would actually prompt you for that information. In this case, I didn't. Then you can actually add a change record and a reason, and then here, we're actually just going to go straight to picking the group that I always test with. So the nice thing is the job engine is the same. It starts running in the background, kicks off, click here, it pops up the window and it gives you the status, overall status, of course. And let me refresh. One of them is finished. And here's an example. It shows you a checkbox of show version and then a little debug for show run. So what that looks like in our session log, same thing as CCS, is I logged in. I only ran a show version command. I didn't run the show run command because it's prefaced with the debug. Again, just in case you missed it, this right here. So that enables you to play around with stuff like show me version, let me grab some data, parse it, and then try running an execution on that same switch without actually making a modification so you can actually see that information before you commit to it. So if you know that that syntax is correct, you can now remove debug and then run it and execute it. It's the same thing you can do in CCS, same thing you can do in Perl. I just wanted to make sure that folks are aware of it in Python as well. So back to here, as you can see, the job completed. The script was a Python script. Very simple, very basic, all going through the same process. And as you can see, if I hit refresh, status okay, they're all okay. I'm not going to go through each individual one because they're all the same. I did see a question pop up. Give me 1 second here. Is it possible to put, sorry, this one is from Flay. Is it possible to put login and password out of the script for security reasons? There isn't a login, and so for that question is really when you're looking at it here, when you're looking at the script here, yes, it's saying HTTP user, HTTP password. That is actually the user account that you're logging in. It's not stored anywhere. No one sees it. It doesn't prompt you for any username or password. So you don't have that information stored in here. But if you're also wondering if you can say, hey, prompt the user for separate user name and password instead of using a default with NetMRI, you can do that already in the advanced section. Under security, there's an advanced section that you can choose that option. Alrighty, give me 1 second here. So that's basically one simple script. Now, of course, let's take it up a notch and go to here. There are some other questions. I'm just going to answer it a little bit later to keep this flowing. So basic thing from here is, oh, I didn't. These are some error checkings that I add in there just for the heck of it. I forgot to take it out, so my apologies. So basically what I was doing is making sure that the format was correct before I passed the syntax over, which it is. I was just printing it out. So same concept, except this one's a little different. What we did here is actually said to the user, hey, you want to change your password. So we are actually prompting them here for what command do you actually want to change? Username, I'm just making stuff up here. Bob is the username. I can also prompt them for this variable as well if I wanted to and do the same exact thing, but in this case it's just a password. You just change the username. So the reason I printed out the syntax is just, I'm just a nerd like that, so I always like to check stuff before I actually do it. So that's just the way my brain works. So a couple things to notice here. These are standard, as you can see, easy commands, easy commands, easy commands. These are typical stuff we're not used to. This one here is different. What that actually is doing, for some of you guys not familiar with it, is we're actually taking a variable prompt here that we actually prompt the user for, and then say, what password do you want? The person enters the password in. We will then pass it down into right here, new password, format it, stuffed it in, and then it actually becomes secret 0 as an example. So the command will pass that information in here as well. Once this becomes a variable command, we then send that entire string, username Bob, secret 0, I'm going to say password is password. And that's the entire command will be sent down to the actual switch or router as an example. So let me hop over to NetMRI. Let me go ahead here, edit number 2 so you guys can see it's the same script. Add new name, new password, same thing. Like I said, I just do it to make it easier. And you notice this one here doesn't have my little cheat for the print, but it is missing the format 0 here. The reason for that is I was actually able to fix this syntax, so now it's within here. So I have to update my blog on that and this one, because this here is actually now ingested in here. The problem I found was there was a bug to where the these two colons, sorry, two closing brackets, we had an issue. So our engineering team was able to fix that for me. It didn't like it for some reason, but now it actually works. So I'm going to run this. I'm going to add a new user. I'm going to call him Bob. Delete. Save it. Run. And as you can see here, folks, it prompts me for the username. And I'm going to do Bob testing 1, 2, 3. Again, my trusty folder for my devices. And while this is running, I'm going to look at some questions that have been popping up. Okay, let's see. How do I import the NetMRI module using Easy Install? That is outside of NetMRI, and I will discuss that later. Can scripts be pulled from an external source code? You know what? Someone else asked me that. Sorry, I'll read that question again. Can scripts be pulled from an external source code repository at runtime, or do they all scripts need to be maintained locally? So, to be honest with you, you can do that, because one of the last things I'm going to touch on is using requests to make an external API and pull that information in. Personally, I wouldn't do that. What I would do is something I explained to the other customer that asks the same thing. Hey, Mr. Customer, can you, in your repositories that you want to have all your Python scripts, can we then say, okay, run every 30 minutes or every 15 minutes scripts within NetMRI to grab that data, import those Python scripts automatically. So that would solve your problem. Right now, no, we can't use an external repository, but you know, that's a good feature enhancement to add to our product list. So I'll make sure I take a note to ask them that. Let's see here. I'm going to go back to the scripting process. Sorry. A few more questions popped up as I was asking there, and my curiosity nature, of course, I have to go look at them. So here, by the way, yes, I know I put the password in clear text so everyone can see it. But no, you can change that to, what is it? I even forgot all the syntax, how to program these things, because I use templates. So that's one of the things, as you know, the product has templating. So here is the basic building block. As we can see, it automatically logged in, username, config T, and everything else. So session log looks the same. There's nothing secret about it. It passed in the username and password, so we had no issues there. So that's one of the nice functionalities that I like is, hey, it's pretty straightforward. We can take a simple script from here and then paste it into NetMRI, and you can go from there. So I'm gonna take a quick drink of water here and then look at some more Q&A before I jumped on to a next generating custom, updating, what's the word I'm looking for? Updating custom fields within NetMRI. So let's see here. Sure. Chris asks question. Can you explain the difference between string versus password as the type of script variable? Sure. Script is basically, but think of it as if any of you have ever done any HTML. I've done a lot of things in the past, so because I get bored. HTML is basically, think of an HTML string. It's just I'm passing it in, it's clear text. The password type, when you're using that as a script variable, NetMRI UI is smart enough to hide it from the user. So as you're typing in there, it doesn't affect it, and everyone else do not see that from that point of view. It doesn't hide it when you pass the variable in because, again, it's still a variable. Python 3, this one's from Michael. Python 3 support and Python virtual environments available to avoid package version separation between scripts. No, it is not. That is actually a good, Python 3 is supported only. We don't support Python 2. And that's actually a good use case, adding the virtual environments as well. So I'm going to mark that as answered live, but I am going to follow up with you, Michael, on adding it more as a feature enhancement. All right, let's see here. Sorry, I'm looking at some of the questions. Got another one from Cesar. Wanted to know, is it possible to separate script development and development, i.e. like to develop scripts in some IDE and then when it's tested and ready deployed in NetMRI, it is cumbersome to be working only in NetMRI? And I agree with you on that, but you know what? I have never fully looked at some of the IDEs, to be honest with you. I use very lightweight IDEs like Atom, Sublime Text, but I know some of them you can actually, I mean, it's a bunch of API calls, so I can actually say when you save the file, automatically make an import into the NetMRI. So I don't see why not, but I've never looked at an IDE, but it actually, you know what, that's actually something cool. Why don't you post that at our community site? And I know we have a bunch of developers and scripters that always are on there. We might be able to work together and figure something out. All right, now back to our program. Sorry, guys. Let's see here. So our next fun part for me, at least I like this use case. This one, I had a customer that actually had an issue where they hired a new engineer, and this person actually went and by default left VTP status server turned on all their closet switches. And they were doing this for about 6 months, and they were going through a switch replacement. So it's a university campus spread over, I think it was 26 miles. And this was really a fun one. I've originally written this in CCS, actually no, in Perl. CCS, you can't update custom fields. So I originally wrote this in Perl, so I migrated it to Python to show that example. What the cool part is we were able to do a show VTP status right here, actually find the VTP operating mode. And what I liked about that was it would actually give you, hey, is it status or client? Yes, we're able to grab that right here. And if it actually, and again, this is me, my nerdy self-testing, making sure it's stuff matched. If it actually grabbed the data, we are able to then go through each line to see if the status is actually going to be equal to client or server. And if it equals to server, let's generate an issue, because these are closet switches that you don't run when running VTP server. Let me go ahead and switch over here. Now, of course, these are terrible closet switches that I have, so I don't know if it actually shows any of the useful information. So double check here, same script, just wanted to make sure. And oh, I kind of went over that really, really fast. There is something, I'm gonna let this kick off and run in the background. Sorry, I'm assuming everyone knows everything that I'm talking about, so I am really sorry about that. I tend to do that, especially when I get excited. So, what this all means is these are basic regex stuff I'm looking for here. I'm saying if, when you find this output negative, look ahead saying, hey, find the status, then loop through it. If it equals server, this is the part that's fun right here. This is a custom issue within NetMRI. The name of the issue is actually called Sif test, because Again, I'm just messing around. Then here's where we're actually passing useful information. So say, what's the host name, what's the IP address, and some data that I want to pass in there. Again, this is just data to generate the issue I was messing around with. But what this is rich for is generate the issue that these devices actually is running VTP status as a server, and then generate that issue. I know I preface it with custom field because I'm sorry about that. This is the custom field script. This is the actual generating custom issue. So my apologies on that. So let's go to our NetMRI, see what we got here. And as you can see, VTP mode running server. So what did that do for us? It actually, under issues, and this takes about 5 to 10 minutes to actually populate. We'll probably might have to come back to that. But it would actually generate an issue called Sif test, give you how many devices failed, and give you that information. So I should probably ran this one before we started, but we can always come back to it. So same thing, show VTP status, session log, give you that information. Again, another one, VTP mode, server. So I'll come back to it because we'll have an issue here showing you, oh, there it is, boom. All 8 devices, I'm just impatient, and as you guys can tell. Most of these devices right here actually gives you that information. So you click on it, and right here it will tell you the host, the IP address, and this is just, again, just me passing data in so we can see what it looks like. So you can basically tell it under, again, no clue. It's just a variable name I create, so you can call it what you want and pass in whatever data you want. So in this case, we could even pass in saying that the status equals server. And then, you know, in column 2, we need to fix this. The cool part about that is because it generated these issues, you can also have the custom alert feature automatically send that to send that to your email, send that to your syslog server or whichever, and that way you could collect that these issues now exist within your campus or your environment. Alrighty, I'm gonna jump on, I have some questions popping up. I'm gonna take a look at those real quick. So Chad is asking, how do I import the NetMRI module using easy install? There is a module that you can install for externally, and unfortunately I'm not going to cover it here. If I have time towards the end, I'll show you exactly where it is in the product. You can download it and just do an easy install. It is also on GitHub, so there are several different ways we can get to that. So what else is there? Okay, that's done. Alrighty, cool. I'll just go ahead now and jump into what I really wanted to talk about before, but I jumped the gun, is updating custom fields. Now, for some of you who don't know what custom fields are in NetMRI, they're basically, if you know NIOS, it's basically some metadata that we call either extensible attributes or custom fields. So within NetMRI, you have custom fields so you can add extra data. When I was a customer, one of the use cases I had was I used it for 3 things. Which row, because I had 12 data centers and rows A through Z. So one of the things was where the location was, so row and rack. And then the other thing was out-of-band location and out-of-band IP management. So some of the things that actually use case that customer gave me was pretty cool because I didn't know this, and I only learned this about working as professional services. When you some Cisco devices didn't give you the correct serial numbers. So one of the issues you had was you would have to do a show command to actually find a valid serial number, because the S&P MIB it was screwed up. So when they open an attack case, what they had in their inventory was wrong. Only the show command actually gave them the correct one. So before I continue showing you the rest of the script, one of the things I wanted to point out was, if you notice, this entire block again is the basic standard. The only thing different that you notice is I did that before, but I didn't cover it. My apologies. Import re, which is regex in Python. And why is someone calling me at this time? Sorry about that. And then up here, Cisco, vendor equals Cisco, and type firewall. So down here is where I actually call the Python client to actually call a custom field and then create one. Now the cool part about NetMRI is even though the syntax is here to create it, if it's already created, it doesn't error out, it just ignores it. That's the cool part of it. So I actually always leave it into the script because it doesn't cause an issue. The next part of this script is we're getting the device data information that we need. So what we're looking for, if the device is a router, the type equals router, we're then going to issue this show inventory command. Else, run show version, pipe include serial number. So those are the two different commands. And this is how you can leverage getting data from NetMRI, EZ, Python, getting you this information. So easy, within it, there's a call for device, and device type. So that's how we're using this information. So pretty straightforward. It also breaks it out here in this. The other thing too, when I was in professional services, I created this Facebook website or page or whatever Facebook calls this stuff, called the Art of Regex, because a lot of customers had questions around regex, and I love it. So if you do, feel free to reach out there. It honestly doesn't have anything to do with NetMRI. It just has to do with regex. So if you need help with something outside of the box, doesn't have anything to do with NetMRI, just regex, feel free to post a question there. So here's where we'll run our commands. The nice part is we're actually interjecting it into an inventory data file, so data element. So we're taking that entire show command, dumping it here, and down here is where we're actually parsing that information. So we're actually going to go through the information, looking for it, and if it actually equals, or sorry, right down here, if it actually equals the serial number, then we're going to update our device broker right here. So that's some of the nice things we're going to be able to do with it. What this gives you is the capability of taking any show command. Say, for example, NetMRI is not capturing AS numbers, and you want to capture it within your routers, your edge routers. You can actually run that show command, grab those AS numbers, and populate it into other different custom fields as you want to. So those are some of the nice features that you can do with NetMRI and this update custom fields. So in this one use case, I'm just doing serial numbers. So I'm going to switch over here, make sure it writes script. Again, as you can see, I'm using importing, same process. So let's go ahead and run this. And as I can see, some questions just popped up. So while this is running in the background, I'm going to take a peek at some questions. One of the questions, can we at the same time, okay, there was another question popped up. Can we at the same time generate issue and correct them all in the same detected instance? So I'm going to answer that one right now. Yes. So you can generate the issue, fix the issue, and also update that you resolved that issue all within one script. So yes, that can be done. The logic is pretty straightforward. You don't have to close out of a Python script, a CCS script, or a Perl script until you're done with it. So the beauty of that is we can then say, okay, let's generate that. We generated that issue on the VTP server, but here, let me show you so it's easier for you guys to follow. So we could then say, okay, generate the issue here, or print no match, and then continue going down saying, okay, since I found this device had the issue and VTP server, let me go ahead and correct that for that VTP domain. So I can automatically continue building my script to do that. Alrighty, let me see what the other questions are. There we go. What are ways, this is from Jade. What are the ways to access device attributes? For example, in one script, you're using device ID. Sorry about that. Yes, you're using device ID and then device name and device.id, but in the one you're using device.device ID, device type, etc. The reason I'm glad you caught that, and honestly, there is no easy way. Here's the cool part, and you know what? I forgot to cover some of this stuff as part of my agenda. There are well-known variables within the product. And I'll show you guys that real quick. I always forget if it's one or two words. So the well-known variables, and why I can't find it, I'm spazzing out right now. It's usually in the first list here. Maybe the anatomy of a Perl. Yep, there it is. Scripting, well-known variables. Search on our community site, you'll find this as well. Also docs.infoblox.com. One of the things you can do, and you can call stuff like this automatically from Python, Perl, CCS. So you can actually call stuff, hey, I actually want to call it device model. I can call it by this. Device DNS name, I can use this variable. Same thing in Perl, same thing in Python. So as you can see, these are the attributes that were predefined for us. Not all attributes are there, not every single thing listed are there. So I'm glad you picked up on that and brought it to my attention. I forgot to explain that in the beginning. So I wanted to show you different ways that you can grab data. Let's go ahead and continue with the script for now. And then, oh, geez. So of course, my script didn't work. There's a good reason. Because I said I only want to execute it on firewalls. So that's a good reason my script didn't work. It's kept on every device. So lesson learned, test it before the demo. That's the only one I didn't test. So basically what we want to do is just delete you, save and close. What did I do? Oh, I just removed script filter. Alrighty, it's not liking anything I'm doing this. I'm not going to take any questions right now because I do want to finish up the last example to show you folks. Then I'm going to take the questions. So I cheat, I jump ahead. So here it actually it errored out because there's no matching. So my match here it errored out on. So the job failed. So the one thing about that is, and that's something I was going to touch on later, was all the examples I showed you, I didn't build any error checking in. So it's just straight up, here's a script example. One of the later blogs I'm going to work on is throwing some basic error checking in. So if something like that did error out, the script itself won't error out as ugly. Instead of showing you something like this, you know, the traceback file attribute group, it's actually going to do an error check. Because this return is null, it's actually saying I'm checking against null, but there's no data in there for me to check, so it errors out. So instead of showing you something ugly like this, I'm going to clean it up to actually say, show me X. Unfortunately, this one will not work because I just realized none of our devices have those syntax on it. So bear with me. I'm just going to go back to our last topic here. But that's basically how you would do it. You can basically change the show command to whatever show you want. Change this regex compile to whatever you want to find. So say within, I'm making stuff up, one customer actually just sent me an information. They want to find the CPU usage because they're down in Dallas and they're about to get hit with like I think 107 heat wave. So he wanted to process it. So I'm going to do the same thing, modify this script, change these little settings, change the generate issue information, and that's it. So you don't have to be a full Python engineer. You just got to know that you can change these commands, these commands, these commands, this one, and it will give you the results that you're looking for. Now, the last one I want to touch on before I go to questions, and again, didn't realize my time, I'm running late on my time here. So one of the things I wanted to touch on the last script that I posted on the blog, and then I'll get to all the questions, is basically parsing data and making an import, an API call to our DDI product, which everyone knows as NIOS or Infoblox, which is what I used to call it when I was a customer. But for this case and my sanity, I'm calling it NIOS. So basically what we actually, it will prompt users for what the Gridmaster username is, Gridmaster password is, and the Gridmaster IP, which everyone should know these. Now, it doesn't have to be it has to be an account that has API access, because we are going to make an API call into the NIOS and grab some data. What this script is intended to do, and as a functionality I asked for when I was a customer and other customers have had, I was told by engineering that they are adding it. When, I'm not sure, but they are. So what this is intended to do is go into the IPAM product, make a search on extensible attributes. If there's a network and the NetMRI, the extensible attribute name is NetMRI equals yes, return me those fields, and then what I'm going to do is actually take it and automatically add it to discovery for you. And again, this is just very sloppy. Hey, this is just a script to get it done. Yes, I could make it a little cleaner, do some error checking, and also make a function. But I wanted you guys to see it, especially some of you guys are new to Python. So that's one of the things I definitely wanted you guys to see from there. So the functionality is we're going to make an API call to NIOS looking for these fields. But once we grab that data, we're then going to actually come down here, decode it in JSON, loop through each network, and then add it into our discovery. That's why I love NetMRI, and it's such an easy product to use because it gives you that capability. Now think of the use cases around that. Hey, you have a CMDB. Let's make a request to the CMDB for this firewall, whatever. pick a layer 2, 3 device. Pick one, we'll use that example. Grab some data from your CMDB and push that out to your device to configure something. Say, for example, you want to push out a new ACL. You can actually grab data from your CMDB related to the particular device and update an ACL. No, I don't have that as an example because the guys won't let me play with their firewalls in the lab. So sorry, I don't. I was told in about 2 months I'm going to be able to have access to a Cisco ASA and a Juniper. So once I do, there's a lot of API stuff I'm going to show you guys that we'll be able to do from that as well. So let me go ahead and run this so we can get this tested. Now, this still hasn't been fixed, but I'm just going to pick an empty group. Actually, I don't even think it'll let me pick it. It did. But it's a functionality that I was told is coming the end of June when you can actually run against a zero device, meaning it just will skip and you will be able to run API calls without running anything else. Now, while this is running, I'm going to talk to a topic someone was asking about. One of the things is, did I run the wrong script? I think I did. Oh, it even though let me run. That's interesting. I'm going to file a bug on that one. Yes, I complain a lot and I file a lot of bugs because I think everything, hey, the product should work as advertised. Devices. Let me get this going again and I'll go back to that person's top conversation. It's very easy to install stuff into the sandbox. One of the main reasons behind the sandbox is it allows you to make API calls, use it as a separate Linux box in case you guys didn't know that. It's a virtual box within NetMRI. The cool part of that is you can then, you actually use wget to download the actual Python library, the Python library, but the easy install or pip install. There's this Python script, regular shell script that's out there to get all that information down into here. There's one on our community blog as well that I posted. The cool part of that is that you can then add, like with one customer, we added, what's that called? Panko. So we can actually use Panko now to SSH into Linux boxes and run commands. Before, he actually had to add a separate jump box for that, but NetMRI had hooks for security reasons into their entire infrastructure. So now he can use NetMRI as a jump box to back up all those 60 Linux servers out there. So now NetMRI, we actually found, go ahead and prompt this. Oh, we got a lot of questions piling up, so I'm just going to rush through this so you guys can see it. Everything went through fine. There's nothing in our session log. Status log, I printed out the information here, so we'll zoom in because my screen is really tiny. So as you can see here, we found this network, added it. We found this network, we added it. So there was only 2 networks. So what that looks like now, and I'm going to reset this, in settings, under discovery settings, you'll see 2 networks. And I purposely didn't add the network view because I wanted to make it easy for me to find. So again, cheating, but you can add the network views to make it default, or you can grab the view from NIOS and then make it that view. So right here, as you can see, the 2 new networks have been added. And if we go into IPAM, I automatically update that field to be done. So if we look at our syntax here, right here it equals done. So I actually went back, update as you can see, it's a put request, update that URL to say, hey, that network, the NetMRI custom field, now equals to done instead of yes. All right, wow, I got 13 questions, so I'm gonna stop sharing this, pull up my PowerPoint. Oh, my PowerPoint crashed. Oh well. I was gonna have my PowerPoint up, but it crashed. Give me 1 second, guys. But I am gonna jump to the questions and start answering those now. Let's see here. We already touched on that one. So Marcus, I would definitely say we could work on something together where we can, he's basically saying, hey, can we work on an IDE, Adam, so they can automatically update the script in NetMRI. So I'll definitely post that on our community site so a bunch of us can work on that because it seems there's high interest in that. So my slide died and it went away. Sorry, give me 1 second. I was trying to put up a basic Q&A slide, but my PowerPoint's crashing on me. All right, guys, I'm just gonna go through each questions. See, could you pull data from an external source like Excel within the Python script? Yes, Jim, I don't see why not, but you will need a way of accessing that Excel documentation. So is it in a secure place? How do you access it? Reading it in, you would also need to import like the CSV module. So I don't see why that wouldn't be a problem. But again, it needs to be accessible via like requests or being able to either transfer it to NetMRI Sandbox, which you can do that. And actually, that's a good topic. I'll make sure to cover that in the advanced one. Let's see here. Eric asks, question, is the script running against selected devices serially? Any multi-threaded option? There is a multi-threaded option by default. It depends on your platform. Like the largest platform we have, it's 20. You can up that, but if you are upping it, we always recommend calling support because I've done it where I've screwed up 100 devices at a customer site because we wanted to push out the user ACL list as fast as possible, and we screwed up the ACL list. So good thing is I was able to cancel it, fixed it, and push it out from there as well. What major update is available? Marty, you bastard, you're sneaking that one in. The major update I was told is coming out the end of July. I know it has a great topology viewer. That's about it. That's all I know right now. So sorry about that. Jim, custom data, but can it be pulled in from an external source like Excel? Thought I answered that already. Yes, it can be. It all depends if your file is accessible via what's the word I'm looking for? A CLI request. So HTTP access or HTTPS, we can do that. Chris, I understand that the presentation will be available for replay. Will the script example you use be available for download? Actually, they're all available for download right now on the community site. Matter of fact, I can pull it up so you guys can see the URL. Give me 1 second here. Oh, I already have it up. Let me go ahead and share so you guys can see it. This webinar was actually generated because of the interest some folks had. So it's basically Infoblox technical articles, how-to articles, or just search for 5 Python scripts to get started in NetMRI. What is the difference between WAPI and API? Oh, dude, don't get me started there. Some genius decided to call it WAPI for Web API. So I'm gonna leave it at that, and I'll probably get in trouble if I continue. But NetMRI, it's API. The NIO stuff is called WAPI. So I don't like touching that. I leave it alone. Never mind. I saw the demo system is still on 7.2.1. Yes, Marty, I asked them to upgrade it to 7.2.2 so I can test that issue you were having. It never got done. Sorry, buddy. Will you post some nice Python and script examples? Matter of fact, we're looking at creating a GitHub site to where you users, as well as myself and any other Infoblox SMEs, would want to push code up there. So matter of fact, let me make that an article, a forum discussion so we can actually talk about that there. Thanks, Marty. Yes, you're right. It does go to 40 count. Let's see here. Will the upcoming NetMRI version include some major scripting enhancements? Major scripting, and need a little more context around that. We can definitely get some stuff doing there. There not much in the UI, but that's a feature enhancement I've asked for. But there's some other things we can do outside of there. Honestly, we have a lot of stuff posted. The question is, should we post on GitHub or GitLab? We as a company already have stuff posted on GitHub. These are all open source stuff, so I don't mind sharing it. I could care less. I know Microsoft bought them, and I'm not a fan of Microsoft either, but GitHub is where we've posted everything, so we'll continue using it until upper management or customers say, hell no, I'm not going to use it. So, you know, if the customer says no, majority of the folks here, that's why I'm going to make it a topic discussion on our forum. So please reply to that there if you have strong feeling towards GitHub or GitLab. Chris here, I can authenticate to NetMRI using Python with the REST API and Python module. Do you have an example you can provide? Chad, actually, I'm going to reach out to you personally so we can actually see what's going on. If I don't have your correct email address, please, please reach out to your account team. They know how to get a hold of me. Or if not, my email is simple. It's sbaksh@infoblox.com. And I can help you out with that issue as well. Why is NetMRI so slow in response? Oh, no, the UI is slow in response. The underneath, it's already done. Like when you're looking at a script responding, the UI always works really fast. I am done with questions here. Do we have anything else?
Hi, Sif. That's a great presentation, and based on the questions we are seeing, things are really great. So thank you very much for walking us through the Python, and I think we're also up for the time. So I think we should respect everybody's time and conclude the webinar. I'm
going to just answer this last one. Yes, we are looking at doing a more advanced and intermediate to advanced topics. So that's something else we definitely want to cover there as well.
Yeah, that reminds me to launch the poll. So if everyone can just take a few minutes to give us the feedback here, that would be awesome.
Guess as vendor S codes may change, different string search syntax could use CSV file import for Py. Yeah, you can. We also actually have instead of using CSV, within NetMRI, you have a list capability, which is a CSV file. So we could manipulate that and put the data in there and use that as a reference if you wanted to. So thanks for bringing that to my attention. I keep forgetting that. All right, that seems to be it. Thank you guys for your time today. I'm sorry I went over. It's my first time doing one of these, and I didn't realize, I was like, oh, I'll be done in like 20 minutes. Sorry, I lied about that. So I'm glad that you guys see this as a good topic, and we're going to continue going forward there. Is it possible, sorry, someone just asked the last question. Oh, is it possible to push files via SCP module to a device? Yes, it is. And that's something else you can do that as well. Yes, within Python. So any other questions? Let's hit the forums and go from there. Matter of fact, I'm just going to create a topic called follow-up conversations on this webinar. So let's go ahead and end this call. Thank you again for your time, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, guys. And we really appreciate you joining and showing your interest. Thank you. Bye.